Psychology has a very different explanation for people who have no friends than most of society does. They're not broken, they're not antisocial, and they're not failures. In many cases, their brain simply works differently. For them, normal social life often feels draining, shallow, or unnecessary. Not because they hate people, but because they process people more deeply than most. And that difference shows up in very specific psychological patterns. The first one is a higher standard for connection. People with few or no friends usually aren't avoiding relationships. They're avoiding surface-level relationships. Small talk feels empty. Forced laughter feels fake. Conversations that go nowhere feel like a waste of energy. So instead of collecting acquaintances just to feel included, they stay alone until something real appears. That's not loneliness, that's selectivity. Psychology consistently shows that deeper thinkers prioritize quality over quantity. And in a world built on noise, depth automatically narrows your circle. The second pattern is high social sensitivity. Some nervous systems burn more energy during interaction. Every conversation requires reading tone, body language, subtext, intention, simultaneously. That level of processing is exhausting. So after socializing, they don't just want alone time, they need it. This doesn't mean they dislike people, it means their brain requires longer recovery. Managing energy instead of forcing constant interaction isn't dysfunction, it's intelligence. The third trait is low social dependency. Many people without friends don't rely on validation, attention, or constant reassurance to feel okay. They can entertain themselves, solve problems alone, sit with their own thoughts. Psychology calls this internal validation. From the outside, it can look like coldness. From the inside, it feels like freedom. Most people tolerate draining friendships just to avoid being alone. People with this trait don't. They'd rather be alone than compromise their peace. The fourth pattern is a trust threshold shaped by experience. People with few friends often share one thing. At some point, trust was broken. Betrayal, being misunderstood, being surrounded by the wrong people for too long. Once that happens, the brain doesn't forget. It becomes selective. This isn't damage, it's pattern recognition. They observe longer, test more carefully, let fewer people in. Not because they can't connect, but because they refuse to repeat the same mistakes. And the fifth trait is a deeper inner world. Long periods of solitude tend to strengthen imagination, intuition, and self-awareness. These people think more, notice more, feel more. The downside is that most social environments start to feel unrelatable. Conversations feel shallow. Group dynamics feel performative. So they step back. Not because they're better than others, but because they're wired for depth in a world that rewards surface. This combination of traits creates a strange paradox. People with no friends often crave real connection more than anyone else, but they won't accept anything that feels fake, rushed, or misaligned. So they walk alone for a while. And that's where things often get misunderstood, because society equates popularity with value, likes with worth, noise with connection, so anyone outside the crowd gets labeled as awkward, difficult, or antisocial. But psychology paints a quieter picture. These are often people who are internally grounded, emotionally perceptive, and hard to manipulate. People who don't blend easily into groups because they don't abandon themselves to belong. They notice things others miss. They sense energy shifts. They see through masks. And yes, that can be isolating. But it also makes them rare. There is a cost to this wiring, overthinking social interactions, replaying conversations, hesitating before opening up, fear of judgment, emotional self-reliance turning into distance, not because they don't care, but because they care enough to be cautious. Most people don't lose friends overnight. They lose them gradually, by not pretending, by not performing, by outgrowing environments that no longer fit, and over time that creates solitude. But here's the part that rarely gets said. Having no friends doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It often means your mind values truth more than belonging. You don't fake connection. You don't dilute yourself to fit in. You don't stay where your presence isn't respected. So yes, sometimes the strongest minds walk alone for a while. Not because they're meant to stay there forever, but because real connection requires alignment. And when it finally happens, it isn't loud, it isn't crowded, it's calm, effortless, familiar. Because the people who resonate with you won't require performance. They'll recognize depth instead of being threatened by it. If you've ever wondered why friendships feel harder for you than for others, this isn't a flaw to fix. It's a pattern to understand. And once you understand it, the question changes. Not what's wrong with me, but who is actually built to meet me where I am? Because connection isn't about having many people. It's about having the right ones. And those are always rare.